What's next in technology and where are the trends moving? We are joined by Doug Woolley, is the Managing Director of Dell Technologies South Africa. And the one thing I love about Doug is having met him over the years, the optimism that he shares, his vision that he has for the world that we're living in right now. And why I'm saying this, Doug, is because you and I, last year in May, before this COVID thing happened, we were sitting in Las Vegas. We were at the Dell Technology World and we were talking about digital transformation, and you were telling me what the vision is and the value it unlocks in all these companies and why organizations should be moving aggressively towards digital transformation. And here we have a case example of what Corona has done to business. So, I mean, just explain to us, what is digital transformation again for our viewers in your eyes, Doug?
Yeah, so Aki, you're 100% right. I think we've been talking about this digital transformation journey for a number of years. And again, when we met in Vegas, but I think what COVID has done is accelerate that. And what does it really mean? So I think for a lot of people, there are lots of examples that I can give that would, resonate. But it's really about, how do you digitally transform your business from a process perspective? How do you effectively utilize, technology to position your business in a new market, or utilize technology to reduce costs? So, overhead in terms of processes, or reaching new markets and new audiences with a digital platform. And I'll give an immediate example. If you look at retailers, for example, in lockdown 5 and 4, if you were a physical retailer and you didn't have an online store, you were in trouble. And the guys that had managed to integrate their supply chain into their web front end or their application, which is the new norm, were able to transact as if they had a physical presence across the country. Another one that I think most of us are used to is banking apps.
Yes.
If you think about how banking was transacted maybe a decade ago, it was very much around a branch network, where today we've got a number of banks in South Africa that don't have a single branch. The branch is in your pocket, on your phone, not even on a website. So that's another way where, digital transformations happened in a sector, that is probably leading a lot of that. But, I can do everything from our bank, self-help. I pay the bank for it, but, which is a great business model. So they get me to do the work of their app. And, I can do everything: transfer funds, pay people money, invest, buy Forex, so stuff that was unheard of. And that's really what digital transformation is looking at how you utilize technology, and, the old adage, either to make money, save money, or reach new markets.
The other one thing, Doug, is that people often talk about is customer experience. And I know with Dell, for example, and speaking to and interviewing a lot of the bank execs, that when this lockdown started approaching, they had to deploy all these people remotely. And getting products to them, many organizations weren't prepared, so you guys had that kind of infrastructure to get a machine equipped with the correct software and deploy it out to the field wherever the bank employee needed it, for example. This is the kind of supply chain that Dell has got, Now, I just want you to touch on Dell Technologies as a group and how you guys have dealt with lockdown and these kinds of experiences that I've just raised. And I mean, I've been working with you guys as well. You guys set up a studio just a week before the lockdown started to still continue to communicate with your customers. So that customer experience is really critical on how you communicate with your customers, and in your case, how your organization is fed and continue to be able to get to the field the hardware that your customers have needed. So what's it been like running Dell under these conditions?
Look, so I think, the first thing is, we were fortunate, and I think it's, the mantra of the organization is always to try and make a plan. And if you think about, Michael Dell, as our founder and chairman today, he built the first bit of disruption in the supply chain by, making sure that he had a very optimized supply chain way back when around the PC, and really revolutionized the way that, people procured, that very, set of products. So I think, we're used to that. I think the second thing that we've got is we've got a very well-established services network, which, was a little bit curtailed because of, the lockdown itself. But, we were in a very good position because of our supply chain to be able to do that. From a local perspective with Dell, I think, as an organization, we've always advocated, this workforce transformation message. We've lived it within Dell globally. Yeah. I mean, probably about 40% of our total workforce was already, working from home on a global scale. And we're trying to push that up to 50 to 60% over the course of the next, before the end of this year, actually, with a workforce, transformation model that we've rolled out across the globe. So it was very easy for us to sort of get up and running. We had a bit of a preview of what was going to happen. So within, 3 days before the official lockdown, every Dellian in South Africa was effectively at home operating in a very pervasive manner. So we were fortunate. But I must also, give kudos to a lot of, South African organizations out there. I think the South Africans, typical, South Africans, when the chips are down, we become tenacious, we make a plan. And, in speaking to a lot of CIOs, everybody sort of got, something running, in a remote fashion, even if it meant that people had to take and lug their desktops to the home. So, I think it's proven that it's distinctly possible to change the, business models that, been around for a very lengthy period of time. If you think about things like WebEx, Skype, all of those tech, features have been there. We've just never utilized them, I think, to their fullest extent. And now we've proven, that you can effectively utilize, that type of technology to work from home. So we were fortunate. We were up and running, and we also worked very closely with government to obviously get the necessary, certification to be able to ship product around to, the industries that were seen as, critical industries.
Yeah, it's so interesting. A company like Dell, that you operate across so many different businesses. You'll find the products wherever you go. And I know you do a lot of research with Intel, for example. There was some that you did recently just talking about this digital transformation. So what did that research find, where you kind of track the kinds of stuff you guys are preaching about? How are companies doing with their digital transformation efforts?
Yeah, look, I think you've got, three types of organizations when it comes down to a digital transformation message. I think you've got obviously the laggards, that have, procrastinated on it, or where the business model is not able to transform. And I think, COVID has proven that, businesses that were in trouble, or the business model that was in trouble, that got, accelerated. And that is sad for, people that are impacted by that. But I think it does, lend itself to us then effectively, finding new innovation. Then you've got people that are adopting but are not moving at the pace. So you really toe in the water, that are sort of trying to grapple with what the benefits are. And I think those are the people now. I was on a call with the SICA, so the accounting fraternity, and it was interesting to get their viewpoint, because I think they typically hold the purse strings, and everybody is talking about digital transformation and how do we make our business more agile, robust, predictable in terms of business continuity. And that probably wouldn't have been something that we would have had happening in that industry. So you're going to see a lot of that happen. And then you've got the leaders, and I think in South Africa we've had a number of organizations that have always been at the forefront of that. Our financial services industry, be it the insurance or the banks, have always been very good at leading and innovating. And I think, it's those are basically the three, sort of types of customers that we've seen.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see this acceleration now happen at a rate of knots. And like I said, when the bean counters start seeing the benefit, well, then we'll see acceleration beyond what we, seen in the past.
But it's incredible to think that, like 5 years ago, these digital companies were so fragmented. I go back to the Dell Technologies World last year, and there I was sitting in front there watching this incredible presentation with 20,000 people in the room. You were there as well. And Michael Dell talking about this digital transformation. Then you had your CEO of VMware, Pat Gelsinger, coming on stage as well. And then appears Microsoft CEO, Satya Nadella. And there you had these three captains of industry talking about digital transformation. And that was like talking about how to work together and adding that flexibility. So, I mean, why should companies consider digital transformation? If it's working fine now, why should you move on to that journey?
Look, I think we've, like I said, in COVID, we've had the example, if you didn't have a digital footprint, that you weren't going to trade. I think if we talk about, another one that has been proven is, online education, for a lot of kids, and I think that's probably one that we can accelerate in South Africa, because a lot of our disenfranchised youth got caught out. But for a lot of kids, they were able to, transcend into a digital world and, operate normally. So that, I think, is one that we can accelerate. And then the third one is really one that I think, we've talked about before, is, really if you can effectively do a digital transformation just at a workforce level, all of a sudden you're opening up your organization to talent that you would never have been able to attract. You can now effectively attract talent from anywhere in the world, anywhere in South Africa. And that effectively gives you another competitive advantage that you wouldn't have seen if you weren't digitally transformed as a business. Because we typically follow, we follow the destination where work is available. Well, now we flatten that, because effectively work is where the individual is, and it's going to be output based. So I think that, that's another good example of why you should be digitally transforming. And then I think the bigger one for me is around how do you look at your business and imagine getting to a broader market. And I think that's some of the opportunities that you can do when you're digitally transforming, is cutting costs out of your processes, cutting out duplication, and effectively building a capacity for new markets, or just becoming leaner and meaner in terms of your current business model. And we're living in an economy where the fit will survive and the weak are already proving to not be around. So I think you at your peril wouldn't want to innovate now. And the quickest and most cost-effective way, and the way where you transcend legacy, is through digital innovation. So I think from that perspective, I would challenge all organizations to go and see, how do I change my business model through a digitized model. And it's the benefits are huge. Cost is one, agility is one, business continuity is another one, new markets. And I think that's another nice thing for South African companies is, we now, through if we embrace digital transformation to the level that we should, we can open up to new markets, because the world's become flat. Nobody really cares where you sit. As long as you can reach your customer, you've got an opportunity. And, that opens up opportunities for SMMEs, corporates, because again, if you are smart enough and you can build a software-based business, you can really, create businesses without a huge, cost imperative.
Look, I mean, you're one of the most optimistic guys I've ever met, Doug, and you're one of the guys that sits, if I'm not mistaken, with the president in this 4IR committee, the Fourth Industrial Revolution Committee, to kind of steer the country into that segment. Look, our economy is in trouble, there's no doubt about it, but you, through technology and the Fourth Industrial Revolution that you talk about, these are the things that is going to accelerate our economy going forward. And this working group that you're involved with is very, very interesting, with other captains of industry.
Look, the PPGI is, driven mostly, a sectorial approach to how we can, drive the economy. So we've got a number of ICT organizations that have come together, but we've got about 50, 60 sectors that are trying to drive a sectoral plan with government, and to see how we can accelerate not just, the 4IR component, but just growth in the economy as a whole. And the ICT sector is an important component of that, because we are a change agent, and I think we transcend many, many industries. So we are looking at how we can get involved and how we can put South Africa at the forefront of, adopting, what is the new norm, this 4IR approach. So, it's still early days. I mean, we're making good progress as an industry. there's also obviously a lot of social, a social compact that we're also trying to build, so to make sure that we grab our youth and obviously empower that. But yeah, very excited, driven by Dr. Johan van Zyl from Toyota. He's the president for Toyota in Europe. So, his plan built on the Japanese model of a sectoral plan. And yeah, there's about 40, 50 sectors that are driving a growth strategy. So hopefully that comes off, because I think we need it. But yeah, very positive, because I think we've, for the first time, have a good deliberation with public sector and private sector.
Yeah.
So I have Mateta and Yati from Altron.
Yes.
He sort of chairs that for us. And, Mateta is also one of those individuals that's very passionate about South Africa. And, does an amazing job in, promoting, the local, South African industry.
Very much so. Now, Doug, just coming back to that digital transformation, people watching this right now, and you think, well, where do I start? And what would those elements be? Because it's almost like you're baking a cake. You got to have the right ingredients to unlock digital transformation. And I'm automatically thinking of the cloud and big data and analytics. I mean, from your perspective, what are those key elements that would involve that digital transformation you've been talking about?
I think the first thing is really, develop a plan. I think you need to go and look at your business, develop a plan, understand where you're going to. So, if you don't have that vision and that plan that takes you in that direction, I think, you have to have that foundation. So, that's the first thing that I would go and do. The second thing is to look at the partnerships that you're going to get involved in, because, again, this is a journey. This is not a one-day game. You're going to have to evolve this technology through your business, because it becomes sort of like a lifestyle. You're going to constantly change, evolve, and build on. So, your partnerships are critical. And then, the big component is, just stay at this. As I said, it's a journey. It's going to take time, but you're going to have to do it in increments. So I think those are 3 key steps, that I would advise companies to do. And then, just drive it and effectively make sure that you reach those outcomes that you've defined in your original plan.
Now, I know, Doug, you are sports mad, and you play a lot of golf. I hear your golf game's gone downhill since COVID started. I don't know how true that is. I don't think your golf game would go down there. But I mean, Dell Technologies, you're sponsoring, the South African rugby team. You must be missing the sport so much. Being at a live game, watching the Springboks, for example. Are you missing that during COVID?
Yeah, I think we all are view sports. I think if you're South African, sports is part and parcel of your life. I mean, we're an outdoor country, so we love to get out there and play our sports. Missing it, glad to be involved with the box. Again, there we help them transcend, and it was good to see again. Through this COVID pandemic, our tech was used to stay in touch with all the Springboks across the globe. From Japan to Europe. And we've worked with Jock and the team in trying to see what else we can do. So yeah, missing that. I mean, hopefully we'll have some games by the end of the month. That seems to be on the cards. And hopefully we can help them with technology as well. It's funny how that just transcends everything at the moment in time. Yeah. I'm looking forward to well, it probably won't be live sports, but at least we're watching South African sport on.
Absolutely. Doug Woolley, it's just such a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time. We wish you and your team at Dell every success. Doug Woolley, Managing Director of Dell Technologies South Africa, thank you for joining us on What's Next.
Thanks, Aki. Have a good day.
You too.